Hi, my name is Noel Davis with World Composting, and I want to talk about the fruit fly issue that I have been having over the past couple months, really. And I finally have that solved, or at least 90 to 98% of the way solved. Every once in a while I'm seeing a fruit fly, but it's nothing major. So I'm sure some of you watched my time-lapse video that I posted. If not, I will post a link up top here, and that way you can see it. But if you notice towards the end of that, I want to say maybe around day 20, you will all of a sudden see that the pumpkin that I had in the time lapse was swarmed. I mean, absolutely swarmed by fruit flies. I thought this was a cordoned off section of my basement. I had this entire box built around it, and I thought it would be tight enough where they wouldn't get in since it's covered with fabric and everything to keep the light out. And I really wasn't looking in there at all. I was just checking to see if the pumpkin was gone when I opened it and to make sure the memory card was still going. I think I lost actually a couple hours at one point due to a power outage, but other than that, I really didn't check on it that much. And I had no idea how many fruit flies had made it in there. And I think that was part of the reason why I was having so many issues in my basement, is the fact that there were probably hundreds on that pumpkin. And part of it is because of the way that the pumpkin collapsed inward. Once it collapsed inward and the shell broke, the fruit flies were able to get into the pumpkin itself, whereas before they really couldn't by digging underneath. So with that, I want to say that I finally have, I think, gotten rid of the fruit flies from my basement. At least, maybe there's a couple here and there, but not many. I've been checking the bins that I have. I've been checking the totes, and they've seemed to have really very little fruit fly life left in them. But there are a couple things that I tried that were different this was just sort of for myself as far as maintaining a bin that I found seemed to work better at not having fruit flies than some of my other ones. So I just want to go over some of those things that I changed and what happened because of it. So the first thing I want to show here is a bin that was open that had a ton of fruit flies in it, and they were still just continually coming out. I put in some of those sticky traps that I have, and it didn't seem to be dissipating. So I tried something different, and it's something I've seen in a lot of other videos, and that is adding plastic over the top. So with that, let's go take a look at this bin, and I want to show you what it did once I added the plastic over the top, because I was quite surprised with the findings that I had for this. So let's go and take a look. All right, so here is the system I was talking about. Now, I've never shown this system before on my videos. This is just one of the multiple bins that I have in my basement here. And one of the things was that I took off the lid to dry it out, and it was starting to really dry out well. And the issue was there was tons of fruit flies that were making its way into this bin because the lid was off and it was open and there was still food left in here, so there was just tons. And I see a lot of people that put these plastic bags. They usually put bubble wrap underneath it, but I see them put these plastic bags in here. And I thought I would try the same thing, and I did, and it worked incredibly well. I have not seen really any fruit flies come out of here really since then. But what's really amazing to me is, I don't know if you can see here, but I see tons of cocoons on these. So let me see if I can take them. Here's two right here. Let me see if I can grab them here. There's two cocoons over here. There's another one over here. I can't seem to grab them, but there's cocoons all over here, and there's cocoon right here, and there's another one over here in this corner. But I've been amazed at how many cocoons are in here. Here, let me grab this one right here. There's one right here. If I can get it into my hand so you can actually see it. See, but I'm finding all these cocoons that I've never seen so many cocoons in any of my bins before. Normally they're really down in there. I'll find a few, but there's another one right here. But they're all over these plastic bags. Let me just remove these here. I want to be careful here because there's cocoons all over these. In fact, there's even more. There's more right here and another one right here. So I'll try to zoom in on those and post. But anyhow, I'm just going to move this off to the side here very carefully. But the other thing I noticed is that I was seeing also a ton of worms by the surface, and the material looked incredibly good. So I've never put plastic on top. I always thought it was enough to have just a lid, but I'm really beginning to think that maybe there's something to that. So actually, here you go. Let me just show you this one cocoon over here. I know you can't see it on the video right now, if I can grab it. So there is one in this shell right here, in this peanut shell. You can see, it's just amazing how many cocoons are in here, and it's to the point where I'm like, well, maybe I should harvest the cocoons out of here. Here's another one. Nice, bright one right here. If I can get it in my hand. Actually, I grabbed two of them there. there's one, and then there's two. I mean, like, it's just amazing how many cocoons there are right near the surface. And I think that they like that plastic bag to rub against to release cocoons. I mean, here's another one right here. I mean, and then there's tons of worms right near the surface because of the fact of the way the material is. So I'm just going to dig down in here just so we can kind of turn this up a little bit. But I'm amazed at how many worms are in this material. This is a sock in here that's disappearing. Actually, that might be fully gone by now. I don't know if there's any material left on there, and this is all plastic. But there you go. There's another cocoon on this sock. I mean, it's just, I have been quite shocked with how well this bin has been doing. It dried out quite a bit, but look at all the worms in here now. I mean, there's plenty of food still, but look at all these worms. I mean, it's just doing really well, and I'm not seeing the same issues I had before. And this is one that had the Bokashi in it. This is actually a crab claw here. Look at, or sorry, I think it's a lobster claw. But look, there's tons of worms in it. Feels kind of soft. It's starting to come apart even. So, I mean, like, they're really doing a good job. But also, look how many tiny worms there are. I mean, like, this bin was sort of dying out because I was drying it out, and all of a sudden it is coming roaring back to life, so which is quite amazing. I mean, like, normally I have trouble getting the bins as I dry them out to get them ready for harvesting to react this well. The material a little bit dry, but I mean, there's more cocoons, but it looks just really good, and there's cocoons all through this. I've never seen it this way in my bin, so I think I'm going to do an experiment here. And I'll bring everybody along, but I think I'm going to try running a bin with just the plastic on top and another one with the lid, and we're going to see how well they do. Because this is actually working incredibly well. Much better than expected. I did not expect this. What's really interesting is the fact that I'm also seeing, as I said, tons of baby worms, but the material looks great, and they're working through it still. So, I mean, there's another cocoon right here. You know, I mean, you can see right there in my hand, there's another cocoon. I mean, it's amazing how many I'm finding in here. And I was really shocked to see so many at the top. So this bin that was dying is being revitalized by all of the stuff on top. In fact, this might need another feeding just to get a little bit more food in here. There was some food left, but it looks like most of it's gone. I mean, you know, I still have the crab shells or lobster shell again. But, I mean, it's just the material in here looks great. It's a little bit dry maybe, but it's not too bad. But just the amount of worms that are now in here when I thought that this bin was dying is just amazing. Actually, there's a piece of corn cob. So, I mean, there's just a lot of different stuff in here. And they're all working through it, and they seem to be really happy. And the material seems to be really nice. I probably could add a little bit more moisture to it, but it's working really well. So this is the first thing that I noticed, is that this bin, and look at this nice cocoon right here on the top. I mean, you know, you can just see. I mean, it's just great, really. I mean, like, it's amazing how many cocoons are in here. So this is probably a really good way to get your bins into breeding mode. I've never seen my bins quite like this before with this many cocoons. So I think I'm going to do an experiment. I'm going to bring everybody along, but I'm going to try having two separate systems at some point. One that has this bag on top like this, and another one that does not. And I think that having that bag be closer to the worms, I mean, you can see, I mean, there's just tons of worms here. And actually, the first time I opened this up, I thought there might have been some worms mating there, but the first time I opened this up, there was actually worms right on top that were actually mating at the time. So there was a bone. I was just pushing that down. And so I'm going to see if I can set up a system now that the fruit fly issue is gone, where we can maybe test this out. I want to have like equal amount of worms at the beginning, maybe test it over 6 months, and then see what it looks like at the end. But yeah, it's just, you know, I've seen a lot of other people do this, and I never really thought much about it with these open systems with just plastic on top, but it seems to work really, really well. And maybe better than having a lid that's sitting off like I normally have. So let me put this bag back on. As I said, I'm being very careful because there's cocoon stuck to it. You know, so it's, put this back on like this. There we go. But also with that, there's no fruit flies. I've seen a couple maybe in the plastic bags, but nothing major. I mean, you know, and usually they're like within the plastic. They're not within the, let me just make sure this is all lined up again. They're not in the castings themselves. They're in the plastic layer. So they're not able to get down to the castings or something. It's really strange. I thought this wouldn't provide enough air circulation either, but that seems to be fine too. So, you know, it's been really surprising, and I wanted to show everybody to just kind of bring everyone along. Actually, I made a huge mess here. But, So that's one of the things I noticed. Now let's go to another system that has something different, and I'm seeing the same thing. I'm not seeing a fruit fly issue in the other system as well. So this is different, but let me show you what else I have. All right, here's another system here. So kind of wet on top, just so you can see the lid has some moisture on it. There's actually a worm on it. Now this has hardwood pellets in it. What's interesting is that I have hardly seen any fruit flies in here. I don't know if the material is too thick for them to dig through, but I mean, like, there's even food in here. Like, this is I think a mango pit. But I've not seen really any fruit flies in here at all. And I find it kind of interesting. Now, I don't feel this bin is quite as healthy as the other one, but I don't know what it is about this, but they are not digging in here and finding stuff. So I just find it very interesting that, there's certain systems which don't seem to have as many fruit flies. As you can see, there's plenty of worms in here. And I've been feeding this one too, which is really strange, because usually when you feed, if it's not deep enough, which I find that with these bins, it's usually not deep enough, you're not getting you'll get the fruit fly issues. But look at this. I mean, first off, they've worked through a lot of the material. This is a little bit dry, probably needs some moisture, but I'm not seeing any of the fruit flies in here that I normally have. Here we go. There's the moisture in there, and you can see there's a massive ton of worms by the moist sections in there, which I've fed. I mean, like, as I said, I've put food in here, and look at this. You can see all the worms coming out of it. I mean, there's another piece of I guess it's another mango pit right there. But you can just see that there's a ton of worms in here. And I just fed this area. I've been putting in a lot of frozen food and juice in this bin, and I have no fruit flies. I mean, there hasn't been an issue at all in here, and I don't know what's different, except for, or I should say, I know it's different. The only thing that I can see that's different is the fact that this has these hardwood pellets in it. And I think that they're harder to dig through, or there's something about them that makes it where they're not, maybe it's because they're pine, maybe partially, or something like that, and the fruit flies don't like them, but I have not seen any fruit flies in this bin at all. And I wanted to show you that maybe the cardboard, I think, has some issues, even though it's free, where I gotta make sure this is buried under. I don't want to have food on top, though. I think that the cardboard actually is able to be a source of food for fruit flies in some way. I think because of the glues that hold it together, whereas these other materials, and I'm seeing this also at, I don't have any right now, but also in cocoa coir, I don't see as many fruit flies in there either. I know that they can get through that because I have added that to other systems in the past, but I'm not seeing the fruit fly issue quite as prevalent in these systems. I mean, I might see like one in here every once in a while, but even when you saw the pumpkin time lapse, I had hundreds of them or thousands of them on there, and they never really came in here, but they were in all my other systems in bulk. I mean, anything that was open, they found and they went into, and I had to put traps and do all sorts of stuff to get rid of them. But this system never really had that issue. It just sort of, I was able to still throw food in it as long as I buried it in here, no issues whatsoever. So just some observations that I had during this entire fruit fly episode that you might be interested in. So it might make more sense to, this could be a reason, especially if you're a breeder, why you might want to buy bedding material if you're doing this in your house. I think this is also a little bit easier to sort through at the end, and it wicks moisture a little bit better, but it's not just that. Preventing fruit flies from coming out is a massive deal when you are storing this stuff in your house. So that's my observations. I wanted to show you the two systems that I had. Of course, I also have my pine shavings, and that one has not had a fruit fly issue either. But I think some of these pay-for bedding materials might work a little bit better, especially when you come into an issue like this. So thank you for watching this video. If you have questions or comments, or you've tried these things, let me know, and let me know how it works for you. I'm very curious about this. As I said, the fruit fly issue is a pretty bad issue that I've had. It's really starting to work its way through. It's probably 2% still an issue maybe, but it's primarily gone. I'm going to start doing updates on my bins again, and over this next week, I'm probably going to have an update on everything that I'm doing, so that way you guys can stay up to date. But thank you for watching, and let me know what you think in the comments. Again, please, I'd like to hear what everyone has to say, and I'd like to hear other opinions as well. So thank you for watching.